What if I told you that one of the most powerful mental resilience techniques in history comes from a Roman emperor, and you can start practicing it in just 1 minute a day? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today.
Okay, so let's set the stage. I want you to think back about 2,000 years ago. Who do you think was the single most powerful person in the entire world? We're not just talking about a king, we're talking about an emperor, a ruler of a vast, sprawling empire.
You're probably thinking of the Roman emperor, and you'd be right. The man in charge back then was Marcus Aurelius. And look, he wasn't just any emperor. He's widely seen as one of the greatest leaders in all of history. And his influence, well, it's still with us today. But here's the thing. His life was anything but easy. I mean, just look at this. He was dealing with endless wars on the borders, a pandemic that was wiping out huge parts of the population, betrayal from his inner circle, and on top of all that, the unimaginable pain of losing 8 of his own children. And yet, through all of that chaos, he was known for being this calm, wise, and respected leader. How is that even possible?
So, how did he do it? What was his big secret? You might be expecting some grand imperial strategy, but it was actually something incredibly simple. It was a private habit. No matter how insane his day got, he always made time, every single day, to just write his thoughts down in a personal journal.
All right, so here's what we've got lined up. First, we'll dive into the emperor's secret habit. Then, we'll check out the science of why it works. After that, I'll give you your own 1-minute toolkit. And finally, we'll get you started on your own story. Let's get into it. Okay, first up, the emperor's secret habit. You have to understand, this notebook was never meant to be seen by anyone else. It was his private journal just for him. But centuries later, these raw, personal notes were collected and published as a book we now call Meditations. And get this, it's become one of the most influential self-help guides ever written. And that just goes to show you how timeless this stuff is. I mean, think about it. The private thoughts of a Roman emperor are being studied today by people like presidents, groundbreaking tech founders, and some of the smartest investors on the planet. They all look to his words to become better leaders themselves. It's wild. So the history is incredible, right? But let's get into the nitty-gritty. What's actually going on inside your brain when you do this? Why is just writing for 60 seconds so powerful? Let's look at the science of calm. Okay, check this out. When you start writing your thoughts down, 2 amazing things happen in your brain. First, you fire up your prefrontal cortex. That's your CEO brain, the part that handles logic, focus, and good decisions. And at the exact same time, you quiet down your amygdala. That's the brain's alarm system, the source of fear and stress. It's like you're literally turning up the volume on clarity and turning down the volume on anxiety. All right, this is where it gets really practical. Let's build your 1-minute toolkit. I'm going to give you 5 super simple but really powerful techniques you can start using today, like right after you finish this. First up, we have the control one. This is all about focusing your energy where it can actually make a difference. Take Howard Schultz. Back in 2008, Starbucks was tanking. He comes back as CEO, and every single morning he asks himself one simple question: what can I actually control today? He couldn't fix the global economy, right? But he could make sure the coffee was amazing and the staff were happy. And that laser focus, it literally saved the company. And the formula is so simple. You just write down whatever's stressing you out. Then, for each thing on the list, you ask, is this in my control? If it's a yes, great, you make a plan. But if it's a no, you practice letting it go. Just writing it down helps you separate what you can change from what you can't. It's exactly what Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam did when his first rocket failed. He couldn't change the past, but he could control the prep for the next one. And that one made history. Okay, technique number 2, the gratitude one. This one is a total game changer for rewiring your brain. See, our minds are naturally wired to look for problems. But when you take just 1 minute to write down a few things you're genuinely thankful for, you start training your brain to hunt for the good stuff instead. And this isn't just some feel-good idea. The science is solid. A big study at UC Davis found that people who did this saw a 25% jump in happiness. And that's not all. They slept better. They even exercised more. I mean, these are real measurable benefits from a tiny 1-minute habit. Technique number 3 is what I call the awareness one. You know how it's always way easier to solve a friend's problems than your own? It's because you're on the outside looking in, without all the emotional baggage. Well, journaling lets you do that for yourself.
When you write your problems down on a page, you're literally creating distance. It pulls you out of the storm and lets you see things with a lot more clarity.
It really comes down to what the great philosopher Socrates said: the unexamined life is not worth living. And you know what? Writing is one of the best tools we have for that kind of self-examination. It helps you spot your own patterns, your triggers, your fears, and once you can see those things clearly, that's when you can start making much better choices. All right, our fourth technique is the preparation one. Think of this as putting on emotional armor before you start your day. Marcus Aurelius did this all the time. He'd write about the annoying or difficult people he expected to run into. And this isn't just an ancient thing. Modern champions, like the legendary Olympian Michael Phelps, used this exact strategy to prepare for every possible disaster in a race. So here's how you do it. You write down the things that could go wrong. Then you visualize exactly how you'll deal with them. The perfect example is the 2008 Olympics. Michael Phelps dives in, and his goggles completely fill with water. He's blind. For most people, that's game over. But for him, he had already visualized that exact scenario countless times. He didn't panic. He just kept swimming his race by counting his strokes, and he won the gold. That is the power of preparation. And last but not least, technique 5 is the reflection one. This is all about closing out your day with purpose instead of just letting it fade away. Benjamin Franklin was a master at this. Every single night, he'd review his day and track his progress on a list of 13 virtues. It was this simple habit of daily reflection that helped shape him into one of the most incredible figures in history. And you can do the same thing, but it's even simpler. All it takes is asking yourself 2 questions before you go to sleep. What went well today? And what can I do a little bit better tomorrow? Answering those in a notebook is such a powerful way to process your day, acknowledge your wins, and prime yourself to be even better the next day. Okay, so we've got the history, we've got the science, and now you have the toolkit. So let's get to the final and maybe most important part, starting your story now. This is all about tearing down that last little bit of hesitation and making this so easy to start. So if you're sitting there thinking, but what do I write? I don't want to do it wrong. This one's for you. It's called the random one. And the rule is there are no rules. Just grab a pen, open a notes app, whatever, and just dump whatever is in your brain onto the page. No judgment, no structure. Because honestly, the most important step is just to start. And there's a really good reason this works. See, your mind isn't designed to be a storage locker for random thoughts and worries. It's a factory for creating ideas. When you get all that mental clutter out of your head and onto the page, you free up so much space. Space for clarity, for focus, and for real creativity. So that brings us to the final question, and this one is for you. You've seen the history, you know the science, you have the tools, and you know it only takes 1 minute. So what will your first minute look like?